Kenya is the lead exporter and grower of fresh-cut flowers in the region. This is according to the Kenya Flower Council that has even dared compare Kenya to top wildflower producers such as Ecuador. However, Colombia and the Netherlands still remain the very top. With countries like Ethiopia giving Kenya a lot of competition here in the region, Kenya continues to improve its flower export and flower production industry. Now, in the previous years, Kenya has done very well. For example, in the year 2017, Kenya exported around 160,000 tons of fresh flowers, generating a revenue of about 823 million US dollars, making them quite a player in the industry. And in the subsequent years, such as 2016, Kenya produced 130,000 tons, generating a revenue of 700 million US dollars. Most of Kenya's flowers are sold to over 60 countries in the world, with the European market being the biggest one, where Kenya enjoys 38% of the market share. Now, one would wonder, what puts Kenya so top in flower production? Is it the land? Is it the people, the hardworking people? Or is it the weather? We take you 180 kilometers north of Nairobi, the Kenyan capital, to Tambuzi Flower Limited, where the tagline is, "Stop and smell the roses." We are going to be finding out why this particular farm is mostly unique and very popular in the world. We will be meeting and talking to the owner and director, Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Tim Hobbs, who will be telling us a bit about his farm. Welcome, Mr. Hobbs, and thank you for accepting our interview.
Hello, Ruth.
Okay.
Very nice to meet you.
Okay.
Welcome to Tambuzi.
Okay. Please, with a small introduction of yourself, and would you please do a small introduction of the farm?
Sure. We've been growing roses for over 20 years. We started with scented garden roses, which is slightly unique. So we're a niche within the flower market. Our roses are used mainly for weddings and events. And their unique features, as you've seen, is their scent, their perfume. And they're not the longest lasting flowers, but they are, I think, the most beautiful of the roses that in Kenya.
Okay. As we continue to enjoy your farm, perhaps you can tell us how big is your farm, and how many types of roses or flowers do you have here?
We grow over 70 varieties commercially, Ruth. What we try and select where we are now is in our trial area. We do lots of trials, so we have over 250 trials on the farm at any one time, and of those we select. But what we do is we try and see how they grow, how they open, what the customers feel about them, and then we select the successful ones. So on that basis, we have different rose breeders who we try their varieties. One of the most well-known is David Austin Roses, who is an English rose breeder, and I can show you some of their trials that we're trialing at the moment. To give you an idea of what's unique about Tambuzi, I think you can see this is a variety of David Austin Roses, and it's got this lovely cup shape. As it opens very fully. You see all the petals, and the more petals, the hundreds and hundreds of petals in the flower, and it's got a beautiful scent as well. So that's what we pride ourselves on, that unique market offering. We're very keen, we do have customers in China now, and we're very keen on developing our presence in the Chinese market. And we see that as a great opportunity for the future for Tambuzi.
Okay, talking about the Chinese market, would you please tell us what you have discovered there, and how much exports are you doing to the Chinese market currently?
At the moment, it's very small. We sell about between 5,000 and 10,000 stems a week, but we see that there's a potential to grow that 10 times. It's a wonderful opportunity for us. We, as Tambuzi, we sell direct to customers, event designers and wedding planners all around the world, from Australia, through China, through Japan, through the Middle East, through Europe, into the States, and across as far as Canada. So we really do span, our customers do cover the globe.
Okay. So what would you say is a popular flower or maybe type of rose in China? And what are you looking forward to doing? How are you luring them?
Well, I think the main thing, most of our flowers are pastel colours. They're quite light pinks, creams, whites. They're very delicate. And I think that's something that everybody likes different colours, Ruth. It's not that there's one colour that works all around the world. So different brides and different parties have different colour themes, and that's what we do. But what we find is that with these natural very natural colours and lovely pale pastels that we find colours don't clash. They work very well together. So a nice mixed bunch. We're trying to create a feel of something being picked out of your garden. And I think that's something that's our unique selling point, is the fact that these roses look as if they've come from your garden, and people love that natural country feel.
Okay. So would you tell us which are some of the major cities in China where you're doing your exports?
Yeah. So we sell into Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and we want to also go and explore Hong Kong and Macau in this next couple of months, because I think we see that as a great opportunity there in those main cities.
Okay. So before in Kenya, there have been outcries about greenhouses and everything, and the effects on the environment. Do you want to tell us some of the measures you're taking, because you're a very big farm, to make sure that you're doing this? You're taking care of the environment.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for asking that. We are very proud of our environmental credentials. We operate at the highest social and environmental standards globally, and they're audited by third parties. So we are Kenya Flower Council Gold certified. I think we're one of only 5 farms in the country to be Kenya Flower Council Gold certified. We're fair trade. We are, as I say, wherever we see an environmental standard, we store a lot of the water off the greenhouses, and we reuse that water. So and I think that's something that water and any sort of pollution, we do our utmost to minimize any negative effects.
Okay. So gold certified sounds very nice. Would you mind explaining to our viewers what does gold certified mean to the layman, to the people who don't understand these terms?
So Kenya Flower Council conduct a very rigorous audit on an annual basis, and that covers all of your record keeping, environmental accreditation, making sure that you're recycling all wastewater, so there's no pollution to the environment off the farm. We minimize our sprays, so we make sure that any sprays that we're using are the least negative, if you like. We use a lot of beneficial insects, so we do what's called integrated pest management. So a lot of practices, cultural practices, and practices within the greenhouses that minimize our use of artificial chemicals. I think the other thing is recycling, making ourselves sustainable. We've got 120 kilowatts of solar power here, so we produce over 40% of our power is generated by the farm ourselves. We can show you that a solar panel park where we've made a big barn with solar panels. So it comes back to energy, environmental impact. I think also one of our, you mentioned it in your introduction, we have a wonderful workforce here in Kenya. Kenyans are tremendous people. They're very good agricultural practices, are very strong. We've got wonderful weather, so I think it's harnessing all of those natural resources to best effect. And that's I think how Kenya Flower Council have got, as I say, a very rigorous code in order to make sure that these audits are done properly, and they come and audit us on an annual basis, as I say.
Okay, so I'm particularly attracted to this flower here. Would you mind telling us what this flower is about and why you decided to convert this farm in the 1980s, or is it the 90s, from a dairy or a beef farming farm into flowers?
I think we've been looking at where we can, there are several aspects that this farm lends itself. It's not a very big farm. We've got a lovely community around us who we create over 500 jobs within the community. And I think that horticulture and flowers in particular are very high, very intensive use. So on 20 hectares, we have over 500 jobs that are sustainable. So that's quite a big impact into the community at large. And we see it as a positive impact. Sustainable jobs in out of cities is something I think Kenya wants to encourage.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Also, earlier I read that you have participated in flower expos here in Kenya and in Nairobi. Could you just tell us how that was for you and how that experience was?
It was great. I think you're gonna meet James, our commercial manager, who attended the shows in China. We're excited. He came back very excited. and I'm sure he'll tell you more about those expos in detail. But as I say, we see the Chinese market as a great opportunity for Tambuzi and for Kenya.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
Okay.
Lovely to meet you.
You too. Okay, viewers, now we will be meeting the commercial producer who will be telling us how their experience was. As you know, most of the times or in the recent past, Kenya has been exporting most of our flowers to the European countries. But now China is coming up so strongly. And indeed, big flower farms like these ones are focusing on bringing China on board. We will be talking to James, who recently attended a flower expo in Beijing, the capital city of China. Welcome.
Morning, Ruth. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. With a small introduction of yourself, please tell us a bit about the expo in Beijing.
Sure, no problem at all. So my name is James Cocker. I'm the commercial manager here at Tambuzi, and basically one of my roles is to look for new markets and potential sort of buyers. So this year, it's been on the cards for quite some time for Tambuzi to be able to go to China. So this year in May, I think it was, we went to Beijing, and it was the first time Tambuzi was exhibiting at the flower show. And I have to admit, it was actually very pleasing to see how well our flowers were received in the market. The Chinese were very, very interested in the beauty of it, and especially the scent and the unique characteristics of our flowers, with the unfolding petals, the number of large petals, and it's something different to what they're not usually what they're usually sort of accustomed to seeing. And I think what's interesting about the Chinese market is that they're actually opening their doors to more international trade and more international sort of products. And it's great to see that flowers are on that on the incline. And Tambuzi has a great opportunity to be able to expand our market into China. Because of the last few years we haven't been able to present there, and the flower interest has actually come from the Chinese themselves traveling a lot more around the world and going to more international shows themselves and wanting to bring the beauty back to their own country.
Okay, that's nice. Would you be able to tell us maybe how the numbers of your customers are growing? Maybe you can tell us you have X number of customers, or what your plan is for the future.
Yeah, so I mean, Tambuzi itself has been existing for about 20 years now, and our main market, as you know, as you already mentioned, is Europe. They take about 51% of our flowers, and then actually it's Russia who's next as the largest market, and then followed by Australia, and then sort of, I guess, a few other pieces within the, let's say, Asian Pacific Islands. But we know that China would be a great opportunity for us, for the I guess it's the population size. It's a growing economy. And we want to just share the beauty of our flowers with the rest of the world.
Okay. Do you think China is quite a big, it's a big market? Do you feel like you can be able to satisfy the demands?
Yes, I mean, the beauty of this farm is that we do have space to expand. We do have a number of breeders that would love to be part of our sort of our farm and expand their market. So, you know, basically what we end up doing is when we find a new market, we find out what requirements they have. And depending on their requirements, we either plant more or we plant different varieties. And that way we can actually sort of keep up with the market demand. But what's really unique about our flowers is that we've created this niche market where demand actually is driving the market, because there's not as many of our flowers available. There are not many growers like ourselves, you know, who actually grow around the rest of the world these particular varieties. So when you create that demand, people actually are pressurized into buying it, and they know that it's something unique. It's either for a specific birthday event, or a royal wedding, or an anniversary, or an opening of a hotel. So we really market ourselves as event flowers, and really sort of specific, a standout event. And I think that's what's going to help us sort of, you know, grow the market and grow the farm.
Okay. Being one of the lead producers here in Africa, how do you feel? Ethiopia is quite on our tail in terms of flower production. What do you think you can do better to, you know, to still keep the top, to still keep at the top?
Well, I mean, what's interesting is that Ethiopia started a lot later than Kenya. You know, Kenyans have probably at least 20 years advantage above Ethiopia. So our experience and our sort of, you know, passion for working and passion for Kenyan-grown products, I believe will help us to continue to grow. I mean, although Ethiopia is catching up with us with a number of hectares, their quality is very competitive, and it just means that there's diversity. I still think they're a long way off from catching up with Kenya. I think that we'll still be the lead sort of, you know, growing nation within East Africa, or maybe even within Africa, for a long time to come. But it's always nice to have healthy competition. It makes it interesting.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. As you've heard for yourselves, Kenya still intends to remain the top flower exporter and grower of fresh cut flowers.